Hi guys, my name is Victor, and today I'll show you how I published and made an app that made me some dollars. It's the first time I publish an app, and the app uh, earns me some money. So the purpose of the meeting is to show you how the app works, a little bit how I came up with the idea, and how I began to make uh, a few $100s of it. The idea is to turn it into a passive income source that is to earn money without working that much on the app after a certain period of time. But well, let's see how it goes, and I hope you can take some ideas from the meeting and maybe apply them yourself if you are interested in making some money from anything software related you make. The app is a verb conjugation app to learn how to conjugate verbs in Italian. It has a flashcard game similar to Anki or Memrise. And then it has a list of verbs that you can search and filter. And you can also look up the conjugations without practicing. So it's a nice tool, and I don't know, I like the idea, and that's why I worked on that one. So what were the goals of the app I wanted to make on the first place? This was even before I chose the app idea and everything. So I wanted to earn my first dollar because I developed previously another app and I wasn't able to figure out a way on how to make money of it. I wanted it to be a simple way of earning money, and I wanted it to be a one-time purchase over a service or a SaaS or a subscription-based app, because I think there's less resistance from the user to buy one time, to pay one time for a product instead of paying every month for it. I wanted to avoid using SEO because I found out that SEO ranking for Google is a difficult skill set to learn. That's why I chose I chose the App Store and Google Play as the main distribution channels, because if you pick the right idea, the right niche, the the channel is easy to rank for. Um, and that's the main reason, that's the main factor on which idea I chose for the app. And I wanted it to be a low price, the app to be a low price sale because again, it's easier to sell cheaper products to people. And on this case, the people will just open the app and choose to pay for it without talking to anyone. Um, I wanted the idea to be simple because I wanted it to be easy to develop, and I wanted to iterate over the idea fast. And that's why I chose this verb conjugator app. It has 3 different views, and that's all. Uh, and the reason behind that is because this is also a side project. I mean, I'm working here full time, and I wanted to work only a few hours a day on the weekdays only. And I wanted to develop it quickly also because I wanted to learn the whole marketing and sales part, and and I wanted that to be my main learning on this process. I didn't want to learn how to code. I already know that. I wanted to learn how to market the product and everything. And that's the reason why I chose to develop an app without a backend or server, because it takes time and in some cases money. The money part wasn't the problem if it was a low price, because there are really cheap options to host a server nowadays. But again, it takes time, and I wanted to avoid that. My initial goals, uh, spoiler alert, I haven't reached these goals. I'm very far from them, but this is like what I strive for, is that the app reaches 1,000 monthly sales, to have sales organically through the sale, uh, to have sales organically through the app stores, and to replicate the process with one or two apps, to have an extra salary, just as passive income. Um, and this mainly was the reason I started to learn to code, like 6 years ago. So I don't know, I'm happy to be right on the path of developing my first paid app. Okay, so this is the functionality of the app. Let's see if it loads. Um, okay, so this is the exclude from practice functionality. You can exclude a verb from practice, uh, in order to I don't know, you learn. I mean, you learn the verb, and you don't want it to show anymore on the practice section, so you just exclude it, and that's all. You can answer by guessing. That that is, you can tap on next button and it shows the next verb without any validation. So you guess on your mind what the correct answer it is, um, and, and that's all. And you can hold tap the verb card to listen to the sound of the word. Cambierà. If you tap on the card, it opens the verb conjugation section, and it has all the tenses for the verb. And you can also tap on any of the conjugations to hear how it sounds. The sound comes from a library from iOS or Android, so it's no custom implementation of anything. I only set it up to be with an Italian, I don't know, grammar or voice, so it uses the intonation of an Italian person, and that's it. Cambieremo. Then there's a way to answer by typing in that I'll show you in a moment. With this, okay, so this is the pro section. Here you buy the product. Here's the list of verbs. It has over 500 verbs for the pro users and 100 for free users. The model is a premium model, so you can use the app for free. And if you decide you like it, you just go to the pro section, pay using the integrated payment system from the App Store or the Google Play Store, which is a module from, it has a module from React Native also, so it's easy to integrate to your app. And here's the settings sections. You can toggle on or off any verb tense. You can change the daily goals, and you can change the way of answering for the memory card game, flashcard game. And you have a hint option to know how to answer if you don't know. And you get a nice animation if you answer all the daily goal. If you reach the daily goal you have set up. Okay, so more or less that's the app. As I said, it's really simple. It has reviews and the buy section, the pro section. For the app, I use React Native, I use hooks, I use Redux and Redux persist to save the state of Redux between sessions. And I also used Native Base, which is a UI library for React Native inspired by material design. I chose to use a library to save developing time, but I changed the theme of the library to match the colors I wanted the brand to have. On this case, I use like a I think it's called monochromatic uh, palette of colors because I found it like it looked nice and it was simple because there were less colors to pick from. I don't know if you guys have any questions about how the app works, anything code related, because after this, I will switch and I will talk more about marketing and how I reach the user base the app has.
I do have a question.
Go
Um,
on, Jose.
what technology do you use to store the progress of the user?
Uh, for that I have Redux and Redux persists.
Oh,
I have Redux persists lets you choose a backend. Uh, by that they mean like a way to store the the state, and it's using the I think it's using a configuration that's they store everything on a file, and that's the way it works
I
on
never,
mobile. They have also inbuilt databases, at least Android, but I chose not to use that option. I can't remember why, to be honest. I'll post it on the channel. What's the reason behind it? But that's mainly how it stores everything. It's just a file, and that lets you store the state between sessions.
I never heard about Redux persist, but I am guessing that it works like a database. I think, or
It's
how it works.
what's good about Redux Persist is that it abstracts everything for you. You configure it. It's really easy, and then it lets you pick which portion of state you want to store or to persist and whatnot, or you can persist everything if you want. And then you choose a backend that comes in a different package. And for instance, you have Redux persist and you can use it on Web 2. It's the same library, I think. So you can say Redux persist, I want to use as a backend local storage. And you use local storage to persist the state between sessions. If you're on mobile, you have some other options to pick, like the file I mentioned, or you have an SQLite for Android. You have like different implementations on that come as the engine of Redux persist. So it's a nice abstraction between the technology used and the way you persist and how you want to persist the Redux state.
Great, great. Thank you.
Thank
I
you,
al-
Jose.
I also have a question. Um, why you choose to use React Native instead a progressive web app? Because because for the functionality in your application could be completely fulfilled with progressive web app.
Yes, it could, but last year I worked, my last app was a progressive web app, and I found that for iOS, uh, it's still green in some aspects, and it has some glitches and bugs that I wanted to avoid using. So that was like the main reason. I think it's not ready yet. at least in my opinion, it was a bad decision for the last app I developed, and that's why I stick with mobile apps. That's the technology part of it. Then for marketing, as I said earlier, I wanted to leverage an easy way to distribute the app. So the App Store and Google Play were a nice things that came with a mobile app. So that's the other reason for progressive web apps. You have to rely on SEO to rank them and to show it organically to users.
Sure, as well. Thank you.
Sure, no problem. There's also another thing that I don't use. The push notifications are also a thing that iOS doesn't have. So that's another reason I'm not
Yeah, yeah.
using yet the push notifications on this app, but yes, that's another thing to consider.
It's another word, the push notification. it's it's a very
Yeah.
complicated one.
Yeah.
Good luck there.
Well, thank you, Christian. I don't know, guys, if any other if there's any other question. Okay. So looking back, talking about my last app, that was an app for gym goers to manage their gym routines. And as I said, it started as a PWA, and I then pivoted to mobile in order to try to get more users or to get more exposure. But the problem with that is that it was a oversaturated market or niche, and there was no good distribution channel for the app because the Play Store and App Store were oversaturated. I was having a lot of trouble marketing using SEO. Well, there was, all in all, there was a lot of competition for these apps, for this kind of app. And the other problem that I think, looking back, I had is that I didn't go to an idea picking process as I did with this app. I just chose a random idea and I started developing it. And I think that was like a big factor on why it failed to make money. And if it doesn't make money, at least the way I see it, the project slowly starts to die. And I think that's the reason it didn't work out. If you want, the last talk I gave, it was about that project. If you want it, if you want to take a look, uh, I want to show you this idea. I took it from this guy's course. That's a free course for independent developers or independent persons that want to create or to run their first project out, out without funding from the outside. So you get a project from zero and you start working on it, and then you try to make money from it without investors. So for eCuerpo, what happened is that I got the idea at the university and I started working on it. I started building the product. Then when I tried to get money from users, I found out that the PWA was difficult for that because I didn't know SEO. So I came back to building the product and changing it to a mobile app. I tried a freemium business model, but it didn't work out. So I never reached the to market the product correctly, and it took me like a year to realize that the idea was wrong and the whole process was wrong. And I then started to build an audience here with the product already made, and I think that was what happened, and that's why I was stuck here. Uh, So following the correct way of this model, and I started finding people with this idea of the Italian verb conjugation app. So the first thing I did was I started an Instagram account, and I started posting Italian words and idioms and slang words and phrases to know and to see if there was people willing to consume that kind of content. And I gained like 500 followers in a month. So I think, okay, this I thought this idea may work. And then I also went to Reddit and other places on the internet, and I got that validation I needed by talking to people. Then I mocked up the product, and now I'm selling it. And the whole process took me 6 or 5 months, and I can continue to sell the product because of that, because I know that what I made, it's already making me some money, and people want the product. That's also a problem I think we have, the ones of who are speaking, of who are listening to this, uh, who are coders, who are programmers, is that we try to solve every problem with code, and there's time that from time to time the problems we need to solve are more related to how to market things, or how to make our time more efficient instead of just coding new functionalities to the apps and trying to solve it that way. Here's is the idea validation phase, that's before starting working on the app. I found three ways of validating my idea. First one is ripping the idea from other project. That's uh, like a common thing that happens because at least me, I'm not a genius, and I I won't came up with an idea. I won't come up with an idea that will revolutionize the whole world. So we are always working with existing ideas. There's always competition, and that's why it's the way it is, taking an idea from another person, then pivoting it, changing a little thing about it, and making it better for the end user. Then another form of validation is creating an Instagram, as I said, and posting Italian idioms and words for people to learn. And the other way of validation is being active on a Reddit channel and on a subreddit that's called Italian Learning, asking people about what they need and what they think the whole Italian learning world is missing in order to know if it's viable to develop a solution for them. This is a post I found on Indie Hackers before, as I said, before even starting to code. It's by a guy named Ivan Mir, and Ivan Mir made an app on 2018 called Conjugato, which is the father of Verbare. It's an app to learn how to conjugate verbs in Spanish instead of Italian. And this guy, what's good about Indie Hackers, it's that it's a very open community, and everyone shares their stats, their goals, what their struggles are. It's like similar to open source, but for the marketing details and how to run a business uh, aspect of things. So he shared that he made this money on 2020 with this simple idea that was an app to help Spanish learners learn conjugation, learn verb conjugation. This is a post I made on the Italian learning subreddit. And from this, I gained like 100 or 200 more or less users on the Instagram account. I just said, hey guys, I'm Victor. I'm learning Italian just as you. And I created this Instagram account to tell you how to tell you some idioms in Italian and to share the knowledge with you. I don't know, this was like the most solid validation I had with this. I had no doubts that the app would work because they were very receptive, and I made another post, some more posts, and they were very receptive and they loved everything I shared, no matter how simple it was, at least in my opinion. And this is the one of the first posts that I made on the account. So as I said, it's a Italian idiom, and then there is how to say it in English or the equivalent in English. I had a lot of interaction from users from this account, so I kept posting things, and I'm currently posting things on the Instagram account. Okay, the last step I made before starting to code was to research if I could rely on the App Store and Google Play to as a distribution channel for the app. So I wanted to know if there was a free spot right on the App Store and Google Play to a new app to exist in this specific niche. So there were three top apps for Italian and Italian verbs keywords, and all of them were kind of old, and they had horrible UI and UX, and some of them like they even they had designed like for a web app instead of a mobile app, and none of them had this uh, practice or learning functionality, at least not the way uh, I I wanted it to be. So there was no easy way to practice the verb conjugations on any of these apps. Okay, so this is a recap on the marketing channels I use. I even included some I tried, and I then found out that they weren't uh, the proper ways of marketing, so I stopped working on them. For instance, this I had a Discord server that I shared on the subreddit channel I mentioned, and I stopped working on it because it took a lot of time and it wasn't working the way I expected. Then there's also an email list that I offered a PDF with the most common verb conjugations in order to get users to sign up to my email list. I had a link on Instagram to capture emails, but now I'm sharing just the download link for my app instead of this. So that's why it's only 30 users for the email list. I'm not focusing on this right now. Then there's also Facebook groups. I just searched Italian learning Facebook groups, and I use these groups to make like direct sales, like spammy messages on each channel saying, "Hey guys, I'm Victor. I am learning Italian, and I developed this app. Please let me know what you think," and the link to the app. And this one was amazing because I got to speak with a lot of people about how the app worked, and I got a lot of feedback from people just by posting this message to a lot of Facebook groups, like 20 or 30 Facebook groups. And for Reddit, well, I try to answer specific questions, and sometimes I find the question like related to my app. So one time a user asked for a useful tool to learn Italian conjugations, and I said, "Hey, I'm Victor. I made this app. it has a free version and a paid one. But if you don't want to use a mobile learning tool, you have this other alternative. That way, uh, that specific time, I got like 10 sales just for answering a question on the channel, on the Reddit channel. And then for Twitter, I replicate the content I showed you earlier of Italian slangs and Italian words. I just use a text format instead of an image. And Twitter has less people, at least on my niche, but it's no effort to me to post on both each time. So I'm keeping the Twitter account activity. So I got like half the followers, but I think it's worth it. For Instagram, I pivoted from just showing words and idioms to using reels because a friend of mine told me, hey, if you use Instagram, you should do reels because reels is where it's at. With reels, you get like all the exposure and you get all the new users. And with common posts, there is not an equivalent way of doing so. So you have to do them. And that's why I took a chance and started working on reels. I'll show you how I'm doing them in a moment. So here's the email list stats. This is MailChimp. I only got 32 people on the list. And the flow for this, as I said, is you went to my Instagram, you open, Instagram lets you put only one URL on your profile. So I chose to put a Linktree URL. That's a service that lets you create a landing page with different links, and the user, the Instagram follower, click that link and open the sign up form for my email list. And here's the Twitter. As I said, it's similar to the content from the Instagram. You have the Italian flag and you have the Italian idiom, the UK flag, and the translation, and the book, which means the literal translation of the phrase. For Twitter, the content is easier to write, and as of now, people like this format, so I'm keeping it. I'm also sharing some reels uh, from Instagram too on Twitter, and so far people already like this type of content. Okay, so this is the my new approach to the growing the Instagram audience. And this one was the harder to me because uh, I don't know, I right now I'm feeling like a bit shy of showing it to you guys, because I don't know, I had like the common feeling of feeling dummy for showing this kind of content, or just exposing myself on a camera was really hard. It was the first time I did it, and there was also this feeling of not being an expert on Italian, because at the moment of publishing the app, I was like, I had like really basic knowledge of Italian, and I've been practicing the whole year. But I'm not a professor and I'm not a teacher, so I'm just a guy learning Italian. I don't know, the way I overcame this is for the fear of being judged for showing myself on a camera. I just did it without, I don't know, I just pushed the publish button, and I start making reels, and the first ones were horrible, and what also happened is that the ones that got more views were the ones that made me feel more uncomfortable, like this one. But I don't know, it's the way it is. And for the part of not being an expert, I framed the content as me sharing my knowledge on my Italian learning path. So uh, I always make it clear that I'm learning and I'm showing what I learn, and I'm no teacher. So I'll show you this wheel. I also joined acting classes, and so I got some tools from there and some practice from acting classes that helped me uh, gain more courage for doing these kind of things and feeling more comfortable expressing myself. Ti voglio bene. It means I love you, and it's used for family and friends. Caro amico, ti voglio bene. So the format is similar to the images. There's the Italian one, the Italian phrase, then there is the English phrase, and then there is the explanation on how the phrase works, and then an example. And there's a huge difference on the people I reach using this instead of using just images. For instance, for this one, it has 640 likes, and if I posted this as an image, it would be like 100 likes tops, and it would have one or two comments only. And then there's also the exposure for a common image. You maybe can reach 1 or 2K people outside your account. I mean, people that don't follow you. And for reels, for instance, this one it's like 26K reproductions. So this way of creating content helped me go from 600 followers to 2,100. So this is the way to go, at least on Instagram. Ti voglio bene. It means. And this is an example on how I do post. Nowadays, I keep posting this format, but less often. I use Canva to make the design a little bit nicer. And I want to keep the Instagram account because I think that by growing the audience of Instagram, I then can also offer any other type of product to this audience. So I think that the Instagram itself has more value than the app right now, because I think that I can get a lot of more users for Instagram, and by having the people, you can sell to them anything they want. The other way around, if you have the app and you have no one to sell it to, and no one wants it, you just have lines of code that no one will be interested in. And on this section, I'll try to explain the stats from the time I launched the app to the operation costs, and also how much money I earn from the moment I published the app. Okay, so for time to launch, when I say launch, I say the first release on both Android and iOS. This first launch had no animation on when you reached the daily goal. It had less verbs, less tenses, and I even had to refactor the logic of the card showing hook because I found some bug on it. So this is just the first version. Then I put some more time of work on it. It took me 1 month to launch. I worked on it from Monday to Friday, and I worked only 2 hours a day. The operation costs are, as it says here, it's for the App Store, it's 100 per year, and for Google Play, you get to pay only $25 one time, and then you can use the account and to publish any app you want. The same for the App Store. You have to pay one time a year, but you can publish 10 apps if you want. And I already had this paid because I use the same account as for the other app I made. Then you also have to pay 30% of your sales to the App Store and to Google Play. But they both have a program for small businesses. You have to fill up a form. I already filled them, and you get a 15% cut of the fee if you earn less than $1 million a year. So it's good because I think 30% it's a lot, and 15% of sales is I don't know, it's good to be only discounted 15 instead of 30. So here is the chart for the installs. March was the launch month, but I launched on 22 of March, I think, so there was only 1 week. That's why there's not that much of installs. April was the month I did all that spammy marketing on Facebook and also Reddit. So that's why it's the best month up to now. I also share it on my Instagram account and my Twitter that at the moment have like 1K total followers between the two. And then it went steady on the installs. These last 2 months, I didn't do any much marketing at all. And most downloads came from Android because I started performing really good on the search engine that Google Play has. Not that's not happening right now for iOS, and that's why the number is so low. So the best month it was like 800 installs total, and the last month is like 300 total. Well, this is the money I have been earning from the moment I launched. It's expressed in United States dollars. And I'll repeat the same for April. It was the month I did the most work on marketing. So that's why it's the month I earn the most, like 300, a little bit less of $300. And the other months, it's more like $100, and it's steady on that number. So I hope it keeps on 100 or it keeps going up. So I am far from reaching 1K a month, but for an app that's 1, 2, 3, 4 months old or 5, I think I'm doing good. I don't know. I'm happy even if it was $10 a month. And on total, I sold 125 units of Verbare Pro. That's when the user downloads the app and decides to purchase the premium version of the app. That's the only way I earn money. So 125 is the total amount of money I made on this period of time. I think I need to work a little bit more on marketing outside the Play Store and the App Store, because whenever I share my app to a group of people, I end up having a lot of sales. So as the example I I told you about Reddit. I answered a question and I got 10 more sales. I think I need to work on that. And I started talking to influencers and people on the Italian learning space to figure out a way to to make them promote my app outside the App Store and Google Play. And I also need to work on the App Stores, the App Store organic search because it's not doing good. This one is an example of how many visitors I have on Google Play. So the blue line is all traffic sources on my Google Play. So this stat is when anyone opens the App Store, I mean the Google Play Store, and for instance, you type in Verbare and my app shows up, and then you click on my app. No matter if you download it or not, it's the time each time a user views your listing, your app listing. So first, there were a lot of third-party referrals, and that's when I started sharing my app on Instagram, on Facebook, and so on. And there was a lot less of Google Play search visits. And now that I stopped doing that kind of marketing and I'm relying more on organic search for Google Play, it's mostly organic uh, search. I performed the test and I opened the Google Play Store and I searched for Italian verbs as a keyword. And depending on the day, but yesterday I was number 3 on the ranking. So you put Italian verbs and the third app that show up is mine. And it ranges from 1 to 4. So for Italian verbs keyword, I'm ranking good. And for Italian keyword, again, it depends on the day, and there was a period that it wasn't even showing up, but it ranks between 8th or 15th. So the 8th up on the listing, if you type in Italian and you search that, is mine. So that's the reason, and there's a lot of organic visitors on Google Play. The same is not happening for the App Store. Right now, I think it's showing up for Italian verbs, like 4th or so, but for Italian, it's not showing up on the list. So I need to improve that. And also, there's a lot of positive feedback on Google Play, so that I think that's good too. So it has 30 reviews. Right now, it has 4.4 stars. There's also some negative reviews, but I think all in all, it's doing good. And I think that also affects the way the app ranks, the stars the app has. It's not the only factor, but I think it has its place on the ranking. Okay, so this section is talking to people, and it was one of the first steps I made, like creating the Instagram, talking on Reddit, but also talking to people after publishing the first version. So I got some captions from people from Facebook or from indie hackers that say that, for instance, I just got the app, the free version, and I'm enjoying it. And for a one-time price of 5, I will probably unlock the pro version once I practice a little bit. I got a lot of this type of comments that they were paying for the pro version and such. So this was when I was 1 or 2 weeks after publishing my app. So this gave me a lot of motivation to keep working on it, to keep working on marketing, to keep working on the Instagram to make people download the app. Same on Reddit. On Reddit, I had a problem and my post got deleted because they didn't want to allow a paid app to show on their subreddit, but it reached like 70 upvotes and some medals. I don't know how they call it, but I got a lot of traction from the Reddit post. Okay, so I think that's more or less all. My Instagram for the Italian words is italian.italiano if any of you guys are learning Italian. The Twitter is Parla Italian. The app name is Verbare, and it really helps if you want to try it out. And I don't know, if you find any bug, you can hit me up. And well, if you have a spare minute and want to leave a nice review, if you liked it, that, as I said, it really helps me. And I also have this Twitter that I just started out on December. I'm trying to figure out how to tweet yet. I'm new to Twitter, but I tweet mostly about my app, the apps I develop. So it's all my journey and the things I'm learning about creating an app without founding. So I think that's all. Thank you very much. I don't know, guys, if you have any questions about anything. I don't know. I tried to tell you anything, and also the numbers of money and the numbers of downloads and the number of everything, because I think that being that way, it's the way it helps others to grow and to have clear goals set up for this kind of stuff, So I don't know. Thank you. I know if you want to ask anything, and that's all.
Great. I have
It's
no
amazing.
question. I have no question. I just want to congratulate you, Victor, because it's incredible what you accomplished so far. Mainly from my side, I find like amazing how you're handling your time between work and having that app, not only for developing time you've spent, but mainly for the marketing stuff. So thanks for showing us a big part of that process. It's really inspiring how you've been like pushing yourself to succeed. So thanks again for sharing that with all of us. That's it for my side.
Thank
Just
you,
wanted
guys.
to mention that. Yep.
Thank you very much. Yes. It was hard. The most I was really shy of showing you the Instagram. That's what made me more embarrassed. But yeah, I'm happy to show you.
Right.
Yeah, also from my side, it's amazing to see, and it's really nice to see how like how you're learning, no? Like first with the other app, and now with this one, and it's really good, like the advice that you give about like first build the audience, then like once you have the public, you will be able to see how to like market something to it. Like there are like a lot of examples. For example, I was listening to a podcast from the people that did Tailwind, and before they did Tailwind, they actually built a massive Twitter following with an account that they were sharing development like tricks, and these kind of accounts that like every week they will share some nice you can do this with CSS or something like that, and then when they have that, they actually market Tailwind to that audience, and it's very big right now. And yeah, like congratulations to explore all these, and like this is already a massive success. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Do we have questions or
I
another one?
I have a question. Hey,
Yep.
so you mentioned that the one first great talk. Thank you. I would say a great topic. My question is, you were saying that one of your goals were to grow this audience or the user base organically, right? And based on the data that we've seen, like we noticed that the I mean, you have this app has been published for only a few months, right? But the more you got, the more users when you are doing like aggressive or like active marketing, right? So, what would be your plan to achieve this organic growth, and is it only related to what the like the application stores can provide you?
Well, right now, with this Instagram thing that's happening, that I'm gaining a lot of followers, I think I'll focus on Instagram, and I'm also looking up for other short video options. I know YouTube has this new functionality that's called Shorts, and I also tried TikTok without that much of success. But I think that will be my main focus for organic marketing, because I think that Verbare is just the first step, and I can come up with a more pricey product or another thing to offer to the audience. And for Verbare itself, I think I need to boost a little bit more the reviews and the downloads from outside, so there will be a little bit more of direct marketing, as you said, and then I think just then I will be able to rely only on the App Store and will play organic ranking. I don't know if I answered your question. So I'll keep answer Reddit questions. I'll keep answering them, and I'm also talking to YouTubers and asking how much it costs for them to make a promotion on their videos.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Sure, no problem.
Hi, Victor. Well, first, congratulations for the app. It's great. It's already a completely success. And thank you for sharing. I want to ask you if you are using some automatic Instagram publisher or something to make posts automatically.
No, I'm not using any kind of that software. I know it exists. They even, for Instagram, I think there's a Facebook platform that lets you schedule posts on Facebook and Instagram, but I'm not using it. And for the video, I'm using the Instagram editing inbuilt software, but I'm having some issues on my phone. So I think I'll switch to InShot. That's another known alternative for editing and creating the content and then uploading to Instagram.
Okay. Well, thank you, and congratulations. I think that this is a good example of success, and that also that making an app is not just the technical stuff; it's also technical and marketing stuff, and all the strategies that you show. So yes, it was a very good talk. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you want to edit some video, Adobe Premiere Rush, it's very good in mobile. So if you want to check out.
So is it a paid app?
No, have a free service, and then you can pay for some more stuff. But it's very good, really.
Okay, I'll try it out. I downloaded InShot like yesterday, so
Yeah.
I think I'll download also Adobe, and I'll try both, and I'll see how it goes. Thank you.
No problem.
Hi, Victor. Thanks for sharing your experience. I think your talk was great. It's really wonderful what you have achieved, right? I wanted to ask you, what are your plans for the app, right? How are you going to grow the app, or are you planning to add more verbs, or leave it as it is, one pay one time paid only app, right? What 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 are your plans, or what features will you be bringing to the app? I don't know if you can tell us a little bit about that.
Hey, Juan Pablo. First of all, thank you. And second, the app, the revenue model, I'll leave it as it is. I'll leave it. Maybe I can up the price $1 or $2, but that's all. But I'll leave it as a one-time purchase product. And if I want to develop anything, any other Italian tool or anything, I'll create another app. And for the features, I have some features in mind. I wanted to add an error highlighter to show where the mistake is when you are typing the answer, if it's wrong. And I also wanted to add an answer by voice, but for that one, I will need to investigate a little bit, because I'll depend on Android's and iOS inbuilt services for that. That's the most complicated stuff. Then for the verbs, yes, I think in the future I'll add like a few hundred more, but I don't want it to pass 1,000 verbs, because I think that's a lot. I just want to include the most common verbs, and that's all.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, I go if nobody has a question. I was looking at the stats that you shown, and it's really interesting how, like, given that you have less installations in iOS, actually the amount of people buying it from iOS is a lot bigger, like in comparison. No, you're making like more money per install of the app in iOS compared to the other. Like, do you have any theory, for example, that maybe like the people using it in iOS are the people coming from your Instagram or from your like core audience, and the other one is more like the search, the organic search, and that is not, let's say, as committed to you compared to the iOS one?
I have two theories. One is that there was a massive marketing for Facebook, and I think for the Facebook groups, the audience was mainly American. On the groups that the post got most traction, there were American people, and I think they have mostly they own iOS phones compared to other places. Yes, I think the iOS users are more prone to pay. And another thing to pay for apps. Another thing to back that theory up is that I got no negative review on the App Store, and I got like 3 or 4 on Google Play stating that the app wasn't free and they wanted it to be free. And that was the reason for the bad review. So I think that Android users expect the apps to be free, and iOS users are more used to pay for apps. And I think there's also like numbers that back that up, but yes, that's two theories on why there's more paying users on iOS, and then they really drop the users on iOS. So the new users, I don't know if it makes sense to you. Maybe you were thinking on another thing.
Yeah. I was thinking on like, or the other, like it could be that it's also backing up what you say before about your audience, because iOS, you're not getting a lot of people in iOS from the organic search, because you said that it's not working right for you right now. So
Yes.
people that get it in iOS are coming from outside, no? Like from your Instagram account, for example, maybe.
Yes.
But this, as you say, like, and Christian, I think also in the chat is saying that people in iOS are more willing to pay, more used to pay for apps.
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm not reading Slack right now, but yes. Yeah,
They are giving you messages here in the, and they are all congratulations, and you're awesome and things in the in the chat in Zoom.
Okay, cool. That's a nice confidence boost.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah, go.
Did you consider to add advertising on your free version?
Could you come up again? I missed the first part of the question. Sorry.
If you consider to add advertising on your free version of the app as another way to earn money.
Oh yeah, no, I think that I want the app to keep it. I want to keep it simple, and it will always be a verb conjugation app. And the only way I'll earn money for that app is if you want to unlock all the verbs. I want to create another functionalities, but I think that I'll create another app for that. I'm not mixing things up on Verbare right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
More questions or general applause? Okay, Victor, this was amazing. Really, thanks a lot for sharing and like taking the time to like also explain to us all the process. It's one thing to read in a book, and another thing to actually see someone close to us to experience all this. And also, I think that it's important that you are telling like that you were afraid, for example, and like you had to overcome these kind of things about like posting a video on Instagram, and it's really encouraging for, I think, at least for me and maybe for a lot more people here. So thanks a lot, and I will try to do promotion for the video for the people that were not here in the talk, because I think it's worth it.
Thank you.
So, and thanks everybody. Victor, yeah.
Thank you for the spot, and I don't know, you can ask anything, and I'll try to continue learning.